Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is our first in our webcast series titled Blameless Show Me Demo. Before rolling out this series, we used to do a live Blameless demo, a live product demo every week. So starting today, we're trying something a little different. We're going to do this format on a monthly basis. These demo sessions are going to be more topic driven rather than just a standard kind of demo. And then also available on demand after the event for sharing with any of your colleagues, right? My name is Matthew Dodge, and today I'm actually standing in for my colleague Paul Chu, who you probably saw in the invite or some of the marketing materials that went out from us. He's taking care of some family business. He's totally fine. It's nothing bad. He just wasn't available today, so I offered to step in. My role at Blameless, I'm a senior customer success manager. I help onboard new users to the Blameless platform. And beyond that, beyond the onboarding, just general kind of account management, I serve as an advocate for the customers here internally at Blameless. A little bit about my background. I've been here for almost a year, a little bit less than a year. Before that, I was at a company called Pluralsight, and I did something similar at one of their sub products. What they inherited, it's called Pluralsight Flow, which is that's around developer productivity specifically. And then at Blameless, it's more about incident management. So it's a similar space. Definitely keen to help people with their processes and things like that. So if you could, before we get in a little bit further, can you change your chat settings to all panelists and attendees? That way we can see your chats. And then everybody's kind of joining in here. We see the chat messages and we see things like that. So today's topic, just jump right in, when to start an incident and how to streamline. So incident response is usually the first problem we help DevOps and SRE teams overcome. As we all know, incident happens. Incidents can happen, they will happen. So it's something we talk about quite a bit. And if a team doesn't have a well-understood playbook, it can get complicated pretty quickly, especially if your organization is growing and changing, and some of these processes and practices and things like that can evolve over time. So you want to have a good basis, you want to have a good foundation for these type of things. So let's get into it, and we'll share what aspects of incident response or incident management we're going to show today. So where should you start an incident? There's different types of incidents, of course, and the first and often the most important step is recognizing you have an incident. So the incident acknowledgement piece, and once you determine that, whether a team needs to troubleshoot, debug, then you'll immediately start communicating, right? We say there's an issue, we start communicating around the issue, and oftentimes without something like Blameless, these processes are kind of exceedingly manual, right? Who do we get involved? What's the severity? We'll see these things in a Confluence doc or Google doc, and you kind of follow down the list and things like that. But there's a lot of cognitive load on the person that's starting the incident as well as the team that's involved. And so what Blameless seeks to do is we seek to reduce that cognitive load and reduce that toil as you're creating the incidents, right? You want to make sure you're assigning the right roles and tasks too. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but some incidents are, excuse me, sorry, let me go back a step here. In terms of where you should start the incident, like I said, with Blameless, we take away some of that manual part of it. So if you're a Slack shop and you're going to communicate in Slack, some organizations use MS Teams. So what we like to do with Blameless is we have a chat bot that will work in Slack or within MS Teams. And so that'll help you kind of guide you along. And I'll show an example of this as part of the demo. In terms of the type of incidents and kind of when you acknowledge, should different incidents receive different treatment? If so, how, right? So this is some of the other common topics we talk about. Some incidents, of course, are minor, can be handled pretty quickly with less impact. Everybody pretty much agrees that there is a need if there's a critical, like a severity 0, that it's going to need an incident. We promote that less severity incidents will get an incident response as well, because all incidents really need to be managed and handled, and resolution is important regardless, right? So if there's key learnings to be shared across various team members, that's going to come out of kind of that incident management process. So it's quality control, it's also alignment of process, and it's just good hygiene as it relates to your communication across your team, right? Some of our customers have shared that they're really drowning in these kind of low severity incidents, right? The P3s. We've referred to this a few times internally and externally as well as kind of the death of 1,000 cuts, right? If you have these little incidents, you're not creating an incident response around them. You're not getting the learnings, you're not getting the process and things like that. You don't have the historical record. So high severity incidents, low severity incidents, and kind of everything in between, Blameless can help you with that. So again, those smaller incidents, a lot of them at volume can become pretty daunting without the clear process steps in the owners, right? Last thing that we'll show today in terms of how do you know which team members to involve, assigning roles during an incident, how to pull in different members of the team to handle different aspects of the incident resolution, right? We have a concept which I'll show around incident types, and you can create settings for your team based on your type, the incident type setting. So really quickly being able to bring in the right team members as it relates to an incident of that type and that severity without having to remember who needs to come in. And we give you some quick options to be able to do that on the fly as well. So one thing I'll do is I'll get out of this slide portion here and I'll show this Slack channel. So what we talked about previously around starting an incident and the chat bot. So I'll use Slack as an example. I did mention we do have MS Teams bot, which works a little bit differently, but in Slack, we have the Blameless Slack bot. /Blameless will bring that bot up. And when you have that, you can start an incident, right? And actually, I'm going to do this in a different channel. 1 second. So you can start it really in any channel once you have the bot invited to your Slack. And when we talk about starting an incident, so some of the things that we talked about, where you start an incident, obviously we're in Slack, the type of incident, different incidents receiving different treatment, right? So the type, like I said before, we have these different options for creating the different types, and these can be set up by you. It's fully customizable. So if you have cloud operations, the persons involved and the different tasks and roles and things like that per severity could be different from something like security or infrastructure. So typically we see those a few different type of teams which would relate to different incident type. And then once you have your type selected, you have the severity. So we talked about the criticality of the incident itself. Sev 0, very serious, critical impact, kind of all users. And then on down to Sev 3, which would be the lowest impact according to this list here. And then based on that type and severity, there'll be pre-populated or pre-saved options, I should say, for the way that kind of the incident unfolds as it relates to the persons involved, the tasks and things like that, right? In this sense, we would say if this is a customer incident and it's a severity 0, an example we could use would be to say customers cannot log in. So I'll just type that up real quick and then we'll go to the next part. So you have these 3 elements, the type, the severity, and the description. Once you have that, you hit submit. And that's where the automation really kicks in, is this incident creation piece. So you see a lot of things happening in Slack, but key things to kind of understand here is that we're creating an incident of severity 0. It's a customer incident, so that's the type. And then the description here, customers cannot log in, right? And we see this repeated here. So I mentioned this reduction of the toil or the cognitive load on the person creating the incident. What we've done here, if you see this over to the right, is we've created a Slack channel. That's the war room channel, the discussion of the incident. We've also created, we have some different integrations with ticketing, so and things like that. So with the Jira integration, we've created created a Jira ticket for around this incident. And we also have a Zoom integration here as well. So we've created the Slack channel, we've created the Jira ticket to track the incident, and we've created the Zoom channel. So right away, these are three things that you don't have to manually do. The Blameless automation has taken care of that for you, right? Another thing that we have that's something that you can set up is the announcement. So other stakeholders that might not be involved in the nuts and bolts or the hands-on of the incident response, they can get an announcement to another channel that not only when an incident is created, but also when the status of that incident changes. So incident stakeholders from other teams can follow along if we announce to a channel. So what we do internally, we have a channel called incidents, and then any incidents that are created get announced to that channel. So it's a way for persons to follow along that aren't doing the actual incident management. And then if we go over to the incident channel that was created, obviously we see it's 1002 here. If we go over to this channel, some of the things that we talk about are bringing the right people into the incident at the time, right? So based on the type and the severity, you can set it up through the settings to invite certain users or certain user groups automatically. So that's one thing that you wouldn't have to worry about. Another thing we have some integrations with things like PagerDuty, where you can trigger that and invite the person that's on call. Another thing you can do is just simply at somebody, right? So if I wanted to invite somebody from my team, I would just put their name in there and it's just bring them right into the Slack channel, right, to do the incident management to help with the resolution process, right? So that's pretty straightforward in terms of starting the incident, how to kind of start the incident, the type of incident and the severity, and how to bring people in. Assigning the roles once you have people in is pretty straightforward as well. So we'll go over that before we kind of wrap this portion up. You'll see when you create the incident that there's a setting that the creator can be assigned the commander. So right away, I see that I'm assigned the incident commander. Some of the common roles that we see are the incident commander role. You definitely want to have that or some kind of role like that to manage the incident throughout and on to kind of completion. Another one we have is communications lead. That's also a really common and a really important role to handle those internal communications, to handle the external communications. Typically, we see some other roles as well. So we'll bring in SMEs. Some organizations will have a scribe role. That person is just responsible for taking notes. So there's some flexibility there, but the most common ones we see, like I said, are incident commander and the communication lead. And so right away, we see that some tasks have been set up based on that role and then this state in the incident. So we start in the investigating state. We have investigating, we have identified, which you see here, incident status updated, identify, that's the next state. And then beyond that, monitoring, and then beyond that, resolved, right? So those are kind of the big four as it relates to the incident states. So we'll see the commander has these tasks and the communication lead has these tasks as well. Just going ahead just for a moment, just to show what that assignment looks like. If you do blameless assign, so / blameless assign incident role, we want to assign the communication lead, and I'll assign that to myself. Whoops. There we go. So now I'm the commander and the communication lead. This is atypical, but this is just for demonstration purposes. And it's just as simple as that function or that / command with the blameless bot / blameless assign, and then you get the modal. And then we have things along the way, like when you start the incident, you get this welcome message. It'll let you know we have this doc that has the cheat sheet commands. You can also do kind of blameless help / blameless help if you ever get lost and you don't really know what command to use to do what you want to do. But there's a lot of additional functionality kind of that we won't get into today for into the interest of time. But this is just a quick overview of really starting the incident, the different kind of ways that you can have a different incident type, severity, and then once you get into that incident, tasks, and then roles, and then kind of how to assign the role. And then the tasks themselves, I'll say before I move on, I'll say the tasks themselves, when you're completing them, you just mark them off the list, and then it goes to the team, or excuse me, to the channel, to the team to let everyone know that that task has been completed. And then you get that strike through visually as well. So as it relates to task management, moving things forward, doing that investigation and things like that. So a lot here. Trying not to go into too much detail and give too much information, but yeah, there's more to it. Obviously, as we go forward in our webinar series, we'll get more granular in the different kind of functions and things like that. So I'll go back over here. Thanks for joining us today. Again, before I take questions, just summarize key things we covered today, which I just did. A couple of links here to a popular blog post title, or excuse me, a popular blog that was posted recently, titled Elephant in the Blameless War Room. This is about accountability. In fact, we're doing a live presentation on the same topic at Comp 42 on September 30th. Again, in October at SRECon as well. So, and then Crystal just posted a link in the chat to that, and because obviously probably can't click on this slide, you can go to blameless.com/talks to find those talks from the conferences. And if you like what you saw today and want to get your hands on our product, you can go to the Try Now link and sign up for a trial. And lastly, we're growing. Right, we're hiring across most of our functions, especially in engineering. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out as well. Yeah, there's also an ebook here, the other link, thank you, Crystal, Blameless, Complete Guide to Pragmatic Incident Response, right? So a couple of links there, a couple key points of interest, but I'll take a moment here and answer any questions, whether they show up in the chat or raise your hand, whatever that may be. If you have questions, happy to answer those. So to see a question in the chat, what integration does Blameless offer, such as APM metrics and observability? We do have an SLO product where we can ingest metrics from New Relic, Datadog, Prometheus. So we do have some alignment or integration, I should say, on bringing those observability metrics into the Blameless platform and seeing those, setting those up as an SLO or an SLI around that information. My chat has a 1 on it, but I don't see anything new. Oh, this is in Q&A. Is incident management a separate product, or is it part of the main basic features of Blameless? So incident management is part of the main basic features of Blameless. Blameless is built around incident management, if you will. So there's other elements, the SLO product that I just mentioned. We have a way to manage the postmortems that come out of the incident as well. And then we also have reliability insights, which is data tiles that can be created around those data points that we're getting from the incident, and then we're getting from the postmortem as well. So yeah, to answer that question, it is part of the main features, the main platform. How does Blameless help with establishing incident roles and responsibilities? That's a good question. So we talked about that a little bit. But incident roles and responsibilities, again, we have that framework, right? Where you have the incident commander, you have the communication lead, and then you have those tasks that you can set up for those persons as well. So because of that offering, when we have the roles and we have the tasks, you can establish kind of an order as it relates to your incident response per your incident type and per your incident severity. And then that's your kind of your guideline. So establishing that as part of the product as you use your incident response, but we also anecdotally, or more, I should say, as a philosophy, we support that, and we have conversations with our clients around that as well. Does Oh, another question here. Does every incident need a retrospective? Not every incident needs a retrospective, especially when we talk about some of the lower severity, incidents. So there's a function when we do the retrospective where you can go through the process and you can type it all up and create the document and publish it. If it's a lower severity incident, one line fix, something like that, we don't force you into a retrospective for every incident. There is a way to mark it as not required. So in that sense, it's up to you. And then you can mark it as not required, and you can it effectively publishes the postmortem, and you can move forward. Any other questions anyone might have while we have time? I know we went through some stuff really quickly, had a few questions that were answered, I would say, relatively quickly. So just want to take another minute or two and see if anybody has anything else. Okay, well, thank you all for your time. Really appreciate your time today. We'll have this demo or this webinar as a recording, as an on-demand recording. And then, like I said, I encourage you to go to all of these links that have been shared in the chat. Let me go to it. Yeah. The useful reading, the try now to sign up for a trial. And then, if it's something else beyond that we can help answer any questions, of course, we're here to help. And thank you so much for your time. Recording will be on the website again, to reiterate that, and look forward to seeing you all through that trial process, or, following along on the next webinar in the series. Thank you.